And welcome, everybody, to the Winged Octopus podcast. This is the new version of the Winged Octopus podcast, out with the old, in with the new. This is Tyler alongside Tanner and Tess. How you guys doing today? Tess, how are you doing in Michigan?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing in Boston?
I'm doing pretty good. It's pretty cold, actually. And Tanner, how you doing down in the Carolinas?
It's good, man. It's way too hot down here, but
see, you can never win here.
I'd rather have that than the weather you guys have. So
the last time we all talked here, and I don't want to say we all talked, but the last time me and Tanner talked to all of you, the Red Wings were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. We all know what ended up happening. The final game at the Joe, and that's kind of where we're going to start off here. But before we do that, basically the season was a failure for the Red Wings. They missed the playoffs for the first time in 25 years. We're all crying and everything like that. So, it's the first time for all of us. But, without getting too much into that, basically the Wings finished 33, 36, and 13 with 79 points. It was disappointing, obviously. But like I said, we're not going to get too much into that. Like I said, we're going to start with the final game at Joe Louis Arena, where the Red Wings defeated the New Jersey Devils 4-1, in what was the final game at Joe Louis Arena. Tess, what was your thoughts on the final game at Joe Louis Arena?
I was crying like a baby before puck even dropped. It was emotional. Just, I think, like you said, us spoiled Wing fans, we were used to 25 years of playoff hockey, and knowing that April 9th was the last day of the season, we weren't going to see the playoffs. It was emotional. I can't lie. I was a baby. I was crying. It was the entire night. But
I would agree. It was definitely an emotional night, and that's it was hard because I didn't think I would cry, and then a lot of things happened the right way. But what was your favorite part of that night, Tess?
It's so hard. I think you had Steve come in. I think it was like a surprise for everyone to see him come in and drop the puck. And then Henrik Zetterberg got, I think, was his 1,000th career game, was it?
Yes, 1,000th. Yep.
So that was like seeing his family there with his son, and then Riley Sheehan finally scoring a goal. Like, there were so many elements that played in that last game, and then just like how we won, and how I think what got me was the lap they saluted the fans and like everyone cheering. It was just like, oh, like literally pulled at my heart. Just that moment, like, it was like.
I totally agree. I think that the thing that really did it for me was Journey at the end. Everyone on Twitter, and myself included, and even like the people that I was watching the game with at home were like, "Where's Journey? What's going on here? What's going on?" And then the Red Wings one-upped everyone, just like they do with a lot of like PR things and things like that, and end up playing Journey at the end, and that made me cry. And Karen Newman made me lose it too. So I mean, that's it was a very emotional night, to say the least, at Joe Louis Arena. Tanner, I want to get your thoughts on that final night at Joe Louis Arena on April 9th.
So my big kind of the excitement about the whole thing, or my favorite moments, was always seeing the alumni obviously returning to the game. Tess touched on Steve Yzerman returning, but to seeing like Darren McCarty and them go out there and brush off the ice between plays, just really fun. And the one moment that really got me, just because I had, as long as I can remember, just watching him play, when they were honoring Henrik Zetterberg on the ice and they played the tribute video, and the screen went black, and then Pavel Datsyuk came up on the screen to get to say congratulations and thank you and everything, and I seriously lost it when Pavel Datsyuk came up on that tribute video. That's the one moment for me. Obviously, the excitement of the crowd to make it sound like it was a playoff game. They just sent it off right in the right way. They really couldn't have done a better job the way that they did it.
See, for me, like I said before, the Journey for me was the moment that made me cry, and it was also the mic drop. Like, that's it. We're gonna drop all the sticks. This is it. We just literally wowed everyone, because no one saw that coming. Did you guys really see that coming?
No.
And why they gave the sticks out? It was brilliant. It really was. It was absolutely brilliant, and they struck a home run on it.
Shout out to Travis and Val for getting Jimmy Howard's jersey
Yeah.
on the ice
course,
too afterwards,
That
getting
was
randomly
awesome.
picked. That could never happen to better people, but I mean, just you can't just imagine
Can't
something like
script that
happening.
better.
Yeah, of course. And like I said before, the moment that also got me too was, you know, you see Karen Newman start singing some song and like, you know, she's putting Detroit lyrics in it, and it's like, oh my God, like this is really happening. And like, you know, then you see the fans start to cry. Then you see even some of the players start to cry, like Zetterberg. You could tell his press conference before the ceremony. You know, he started to cry. It was an emotional night at Joe Louis Arena. It really was. And last but not least, we'll just go to Tanner. Tanner, so what's your last experience at Joe Louis Arena?
Like as in personally being
In person, yes.
being there,
Yes,
man,
person.
it has been years since I've been because I moved down to the Carolinas about 10 or 11 years ago. It has been years since I've been to Joe Louis. But I have seen the Red Wings plenty down here in Carolina when they've came and played the Hurricanes. The place sounds like it's a home game for the Red Wings just because their fan base travels so well, and it's just a fun atmosphere to be in. I couldn't even tell you what the last game that I saw at Joe Louis was. Again, it had to be over 12, 13 years ago.
Now, so let me rephrase that question.
Okay.
What's the best moment you've ever seen at Joe Louis Arena,
Oh,
either
man.
live or on TV? I guess
You
that
know-
would be
you
the
know-
best way to put it.
The moment's not even hockey because we can talk about us as fans all that we want to, and this includes that final game. But anytime that they play a song in the last 5 minutes, and this just excludes Journey altogether, but the way everybody was singing Sweet Caroline at the end of that game,
Yeah.
like that's just unbelievable. That always gives me goosebumps. I laugh every time. There are a bunch of other songs that they just kind of belt out and sing. I don't know. It's unlike.
Please tell me why.
It's unlike any other place, you know, you watch on TV or you're at in person.
And just a quick Griffins update: Thomas Nosek just scored from Bertuzzi and McIlrath. It's 2-1 San Jose, and that's the
Woohoo!
Western Conference Finals. So
At least we
the
got on the
Griffins
board.
are still playing, and it's good to see. But Tess, what's your favorite moment at Joe Louis Arena, either in person or on TV? I know you're a season ticket holder for a little bit there.
Yes.
Just give me that.
Well, I was a season ticket holder for 4 seasons, and I can tell you, I think my favorite memories was when last season, so the 14-15 season, when I started going down to the ice for warm-ups and getting on the glass. And just to see these guys kind of just let loose and goof off before. And I'm a big Brendan Smith fan, and he would make eye contact with me a few times. I felt pretty special. But no, I was honestly seeing Larkin and Mike Green and even Zetterberg and Tatar when they would throw pucks to kids, like these little kids that could be their first game. And just to see that excitement, like I'm a sucker for kids. And then to see these hockey players who are, you know, these superheroes, these kids just be so like awesome like that. I was like, oh, I just love them. So,
Yeah,
you know, stuff like that. And what Tanner said, when you see it on TV, when you're there, when you have then 20,000 people sing a song together, oh, it's just goosebumps.
Even after play continues and goes down to the other end of the ice and like just.
Yeah, the old barn was a
awesome.
special place. The old barn was a special place, and there's no question about it. My final experience at Joe Louis Arena was against the Boston Bruins. The Wings were down 4-1 in the second period, and my dad's going crazy. For all you guys that don't know, he's a Bruins fan, and you know he's going crazy. He's showing his back tattoo, plug there, and he's showing his back tattoo to all these people, and the Wings come back and win 5-4 in a shootout. And it was just like, you know, that was it. That was a mic drop moment. I didn't need to see anything more at Joe Louis Arena. And, you know, I will carry that on to the new arena. And, you know, you can even hope that the new arena will be even half of what Joe Louis Arena was. So, and then I guess my favorite moment at Joe Louis Arena, or on TV at Joe Louis Arena, is probably, I'm trying to think. I guess the more recent one would be, was it Zetterberg? I think it was Zetterberg's power play goal against the Ducks that sent them to Game 7. That one was pretty crazy. I think it was Zetterberg or Cromwell.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was Zetterberg. It was Zetterberg.
That's a throwback a few years ago.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it was 2012, I believe. And Zetterberg scored it on a 1-T from Cromwell, and they sent them to Game 7 and they ended up beating the Ducks. So, I mean, that's the one that sticks out to me. Good times, obviously, but like I said, they're in a bit rebuilding stage now, and I think that this season is going to be better than we all think. We're not going to get into that right now. We'll have podcasts over the summer to get into that. So we're just going to move on to the second topic here. Basically, all it is 3 moves that you guys would like to see the Red Wings make, this summer. So I'm going to start with Tanner. Tanner, what are 3 moves you'd like to see this summer and why?
I'll name all 3 here yet, and then I'll kind of dive into each one once I do that. One move that I think they need to do is trade a goaltender. I don't care who it is. At this point, it could be Howard or Mrazek.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Secondly, I think they need to get a pure goal scorer. I don't think that we really have that option on the team right now, and I don't think the Red Wings have had that option since Marian Hossa left. And kind of to go into that, maybe go out and get another center. And then the third move, and it's not so much a move, but it's important to have a good draft. That is your one move, because they need to keep this system in shape. They need to keep the growth. If Ken Holland's going to start trading, young guys again or prospects, I mean, you got to have some leverage there to have a good draft. So those are my big 3 kind of things I think they need to focus on this offseason.
I like those. I mean, those all make sense, and I would say the biggest one being the goal scorer one. I mean, when was the last time we had a really good, 40, 50 goal scorer? I mean, there's not many in the league.
It's been a hot
goal
minute.
scorer since Marian Hossa.
Right.
I believe, and somebody can fact check me on that. We've not had one.
2009. Yeah, 2009.
It's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And now, what is the biggest one out of those 3 for you?
It's probably the goal scorer or getting a center, because they can probably bounce between Mrazek and Howard again. Obviously, those conversations with fans are going to be there. Who do you want to move on in the future? I think they're a couple players away from actually being able to contend. Having some of those young guys that were able to step in the second half of the season and gain some experience, I think they can kind of gain some knowledge going into next season about who is probably ready or who might not be just ready, that needs to sit down in Grand Rapids a little bit longer.
Exactly. Now, Tess, I'm going to ask you the same question. Just 3 players you'd like to see the Wings get, or 3 moves you'd like to see them make better.
Well, I've been having this thought the last few seasons. I love Nick Cromwell, but I want him to retire because his knees are not what they used to be, and he's not hitting like he used to be. Well, plus he'll get suspended or fined. Besides the point, he's just not what he once was, and I think it's time for him to hang up the skates. It's fine. We need to get rid of Jonathan Ericsson. I don't like him as a player. Off the ice, I bet him before. Awesome guy, signed my shirt I'm wearing, but he can exit stage left. And like I said, I'm a Brendan Smith. I want Brendan Smith back. I think he did really well in New York when he was traded back in February, and he had a decent playoff. And I think he could bring, if we can afford him, if he comes back, he can bring that experience and his new confidence. I think he could do really well. But
you heard his comment in the exit interviews.
No, what was it? Go ahead.
He made a comment about this was the most he's enjoyed being on a team, making a.
Oh yeah, it was the talented team, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there was some pretty talented Detroit teams there, so I think he needs to bite his tongue.
Yeah, well, and he also was.
I saw that.
Kind of screwed down at the end of last season or whatever, where they couldn't decide if they wanted to put him in the lineup or not, and he was one of the best defenders on the team at the end of last season, at the end of the 2015-16 season, and they probably didn't handle him too well then, and he probably has a sour taste in his mouth from that.
I mean, I can't blame a player that is kind of jerked around, but.
Exactly.
I love him so much. So if he comes back, I think he could come back with some confidence and, be that defenseman that everyone, I think, wanted him to be when he was first drafted in his first season here. But I guess only time will tell. That's my fantasy world. But no, I do agree with Tanner. A goal scorer would be nice. I feel like every other team has that one guy that's scoring 40 goals. Toronto has Austin Matthews, who just freaking tore it up this season. And over here, we're just hi, we're waiting patiently for one of our young guys to break out. So it would be nice to have a
So, Tess, I do want to pick a little bit of an argument with you. Okay, so when the Red Wings traded Brendan Smith to New York, there was rumblings like before the trade deadline, like a few days before the trade deadline, that they were trying to get a deal done. And Brendan Smith just held out and wanted more and more and more. And so the Red Wings, I feel like he burned his bridge a little bit with saying, you know what, I want more and more and more. And he, you know, the Wings just couldn't give it to him. As you know, Thomas Tatar's contract's coming up as a restricted free agent. So they're just the only reason I say that is because that there was a discussion of contract, and if they couldn't agree then, what makes you think they're going to agree now?
That is true. I do remember rumblings about that. The only glimpse of hope was, I think it was a few weeks ago, Helene St. James wrote an article, like a mailbag article, and people asked if the Wings would bring back Steve Vanek Smith if we kind of basically had no choice. And I believe she said something along the lines like, if the money was right, maybe, but I said in my fantasy world, he would come back. But realistically, I think New York should sign him because I think he was one of their best players in the playoffs. But
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I think New York would be a good landing spot for him, but I do think their first choice is Shattenkirk, and I think that that's a good spot for him in New York. Because the Rangers are getting close to that crunch time there where they're going to have to win a Stanley Cup. It's now or never for them. And, you know, they kind of choked this year away. So I'm just going to give my three things real quickly. First and foremost, the Red Wings have needed this number one defenseman since Nick Lidstrom left. Now, I know you don't get a Nick Lidstrom. You know, they don't grow on trees. You know, they're once in a generation kind of players. But I do think that the Red Wings can go out and they can acquire a Jacob Trouba or, you know, a player of that magnitude for a guy like Nyquist or Tatar. You know, I'm not saying just one of those players. I'm saying that and probably a young player or two young players. But they need that. I mean, every good team that you see in the playoffs that are left, I mean, Pittsburgh has Letang. Obviously, he hasn't played a lot. Or has he played at all? But I know they have Mata.
I don't think he has.
They have Mata. And then, you know, Ottawa has Carlson. And then you have, obviously, Nashville has PK Subban and Roman Josi. And then you have Anaheim, who has like Fowler and Lindholm and Vatanen. So the Red Wings don't have anyone that's close to that, although they do have Robbie Russo who's coming. So I do like that. Secondly, the goalie situation. Tanner, I have to agree with you. The goalie situation's a joke, and I think they have to get that fucking figured out because it's Mrazek's goal to keep, but also Jimmy Howard is pushing him hard. But I do think there's a point in time where Mrazek's going to have to say, you know what, this is my net. I'm going to take it. And if not, then you have to trade him or you have to trade Howard because, just goalies in the NHL are – I mean, look, the best teams have really good goalies, and if they don't, they have really good defense in front of them. And then the third thing, it's going to sound kind of cliche, but they have to move all these ponies that they have, all these prospects that they have, and acquire a horse, whether that be on the back end – to play defense, or if that's a goal scorer or that's a center. They need to move some of these ponies that they have, for lack of a better term, for a big horse, that's, like I said, a defenseman or a forward or, what have you. And I mean, that's just where I stand. Do you guys have any other thoughts on that topic?
The only thing with that, and I might contradict myself when I say you need to go out and sign a goal scorer or something along those lines, but they're just under so many bad contracts right now. I mean, it's almost ridiculous, some of those moves that Ken Holland is, the Justin Abdelkader contract, the Darren Helm contract, the Luke Glendening contract, and those are just, a handful right there. Like, while I do think Cronwall needs to hang him up, I want to say bye-bye to Jonathan Erickson. There's kind of that, they can't move these other guys because of their contracts, or they can't just kick them out of the door because they got to keep paying them anyway.
I hate to say it. Early on, that Franz Nielsen contract doesn't look very good either.
It doesn't. And maybe he'll kind of find his groove there. He was a proven goal scorer with, was it the Islanders where he
Yes, the Islanders.
Yeah. Yes, Islanders.
So, maybe he'll get settled a little bit. So we'll see.
Right. Yeah, and I mean that's a good point. I mean, Nielsen is one of the ones that's a kind of a wait and see. But the Darren Helm contract
32,
already looks like a shitty contract. The Darren Helm. Yes,
he's not what he wants to be either.
33 pretty soon as well.
Yeah.
Or if he's not already 33.
So it's hard to wait and see when you're making these contracts to a guy who's already almost in his mid-30s, and sometimes you just have to wonder what runs through their mind in that front office.
Now, this is just another thing, and it's kind of just a yes or no question very quickly, because we do have a third subject that we want to move on to, but I'm just going to add this very quickly. So Steve Yzerman's contract is up after this season in Tampa Bay, and Ken Holland's contract is up after this season in Detroit. Would Steve Yzerman come back to Detroit and be the general manager after he has said that, he liked his playing time in Detroit, but, his time as a general manager is Tampa Bay? Do you think he wants to come back to Detroit? Test quickly, yes or no?
Yes. I hope that's my fantasy world, but yes.
I think that the more that you saw him on that last game at the Joe Louis Arena, taking pictures and, putting his stick up and walking off.
He was soaking it all in.
He was soaking it all in, and I think he would like to come back. Now, Tanner,
his
what do you think?
family's still here.
And
yes, exactly.
I'm going to be a realist, and I'm going to say no, only because of one reason, that Tampa Bay would be idiotic to let him walk.
Yeah, but what if he wants to leave?
If he wants to leave, then that's another story. But if your contract comes up and Tampa Bay's not trying to re-sign him or keep him there with a buttload of money, that's on them.
So shortly, yes or no?
No.
Okay, so we do have a third subject. We're going to move on to that one right now. I will say that this has been quite a good podcast. I'm happy to say that, this has gone pretty well. But to the third subject here, one player that you'd love to see the Wings make the Wings out of training camp, whether it be from juniors or it be from college or it be from the Griffins or the Walleye. Tess, you go quickly.
I like Tyler Bertuzzi. I remember in some preseason game last year, he was really good, and he's had a decent season in Grand Rapids. And I also liked what you said earlier, Robbie Russo. He played 2 games with us, I think, this season, or maybe some more. But I liked his style, and I think those 2 players could be good additions.
I agree. Robbie Russo played a little bit more than that. I forget exactly how many was it. I think it might have been.
I think it was like a handful of games. I wasn't sure.
I don't know how much exactly it was, but. That was my choice. Robbie Russo is definitely someone I'd like to see make the team. And you said Tyler Bertuzzi. I like that. I mean, the Red Wings need to be more of a fast, but they still need to be a physical team, because
grit.
Can't just be a team that's fast, and you can't just be a team that's physical because you take stupid penalties. So you have to be that mix. Yeah. And I think that's where Bertuzzi would slide in. Tanner, now, what do you think?
I think obviously if Robbie Russo isn't on the team come, October, there'd be a real problem, or they would have to look really good on defense if he wasn't on the team. So I kind of went in the other direction, thinking if they do not sign a center, I'm kind of curious to see the progress of Ben Street and Nosek, just to see where they're at from a winger standpoint, just to see the progression of. I thought Laredo looked really good in those last couple games in Detroit, and obviously everybody's dreamy over I can't even say his name, Svechnikov.
Evgeny, yes.
Everybody's been dreamy over him ever since that shootout goal, which gives me goosebumps just talking about right now. But, again, as I mentioned earlier, they have some good options for some of those guys who got experience. So it's probably one of the more, over the last few years, it's more of a clogged preseason, so to speak, with a lot of options for them, whereas in previous seasons it feels like to me they haven't had these many options come into a preseason.
Yeah, they have a lot of options. They really do. They have Laredo, they have Street. Now, I wouldn't say those guys are prospects. The prospect guy would be Bertuzzi or Svechnikov or Robbie Russo, Joe Hicketts, who has been playing pretty good for Grand Rapids.
He's only 20 or
he might get a look.
Yeah,
and then you also have a guy that they're probably going to take another look at is Billy Sariarvi, the kid that played for Mississauga, the Steelheads this year in the OHL. He did play a little bit for the Flint Firebirds, so he's a defenseman. He's smaller, but he's another guy that would definitely should get an opportunity to make the team. Now, I'm not sure if he will because he is young, and young defensemen take a while. But I mean, do you guys have anything else? Because we can wrap this up right here if you guys would like.
That about covers it for me.
Same.
Okay. All right. So from all you guys, Tess and Tanner, I do thank you guys for coming on. If you guys want to just throw us your Twitter handles where everyone can find you guys.
Go ahead,
I'll go.
Tess.
It is at TMDudleyXO.
Okay,
Twitter.
and Tanner?
And mine on Twitter and or Instagram at the other T Swift.
Okay, great.
And from everybody at Winged Octopus, we want to thank you guys, everybody, for your patience and bearing with us. Everybody's kind of getting busy this time of year. One of our people, shout out to Anthony, just had his kid born yesterday. So I know he's been very busy with that. So, but thank you everybody for your patience, and we'll hope to get some more content back out there pretty quickly.
Yes, and like I said, this is the start of a new beginning for us, and hopefully you guys are going to like some of the content that we're coming out with here. We are going to be with you more often here. Obviously the summer is going to be a little bit more down, probably 1 or 2 shows a month, and then as the season goes on, we'll probably have 2 or 3 a week. So a lot of content coming. And then also, guys, keep in mind that we do have a lot of writing, and that's the main thing. So check out all the articles at Winged Octopus on Twitter. You can check us out at www.wingedoctopus.com. Thanks everyone. I'm Tyler. You can follow me at Mass Wings Fan, and you guys have a good night.
Bye guys.